Voiceover Coffee Shop, episode number 66.
Welcome to the Voiceover Coffee Shop, where we share our morning with some of the finest names in voiceover. And now, here's your host, voice actor Andrew Morrison.
Hi there, my name is Andrew Morrison, and welcome to the Voiceover Coffee Shop, where we start our day with some of the finest names in voiceover. If you'd like to get to know a little bit more about me, you can check out my website at andrewdmorrison.com. Today, we have a phenomenal guest and a great friend of mine, Jim Fronk. Jim Fronk is a full-time voice actor with over 20 years of experience in voice acting, radio broadcasting under the alias of Jim Jacobs, live announcing, comedy, and podcasting. He's also a phenomenal VO designer dubbed the Grand Exalted Wix Master. In this episode, we talk about what it's like working in radio, breaking out of that radio announcer read when transitioning to VO, and different aspects of SEO in a VO website. Check it out.
So is that like just with all things or just with coffee that you don't like sugar?
For the most part, don't get me wrong. I like cake and pies and, stuff like that. But as far as any kind of like teas or any kind of drinks, I guess, iced coffee, iced tea.
Okay.
I prefer Splenda, sometimes honey with tea, all depends.
Yeah.
But after 12 noon, then forget the Splenda, shot of whiskey.
Beautiful, man.
How about yourself?
Man, I usually take it with just a little bit of oat creamer. I started having problems with dairy, but there's a company that makes an oat creamer that tastes like an oatmeal cookie, and it's really, really good.
Oh, that's kind of cool. All right.
Yeah.
That works.
So you've been behind the microphone, as long as I know, since like 2003, doing radio and multiple different things. What got you into the voiceover realm?
I've been behind the microphone probably since 1976.
Wow.
Or 7, since I was like 9 or 10. Singing in choirs, singing in bands all through high school. I actually was a radio disc jockey in my junior year of high school. I worked for a local cable radio station. Back in the day, the cable would have like community bulletin boards, and it would broadcast to 5 or 6 different towns in my neighborhood. It was actually the first cable radio station this side of the Mississippi, called WLHE.
Okay.
Jumpin' Jim Jacobs, 935-3378. It's sick that I remember that phone number. God, just was a trigger reflex motion. But yeah, they called me Jim Jacobs because they didn't want anybody that was on the that was in high school knowing that they were on the radio. But they gave me, this was back in the 80s, early 80s, and they didn't want anybody to know that a high school kid was working for the radio station. But yet they gave me this big flashy satin jacket with the LHE and my name on it.
Beautiful.
I did all the dances and all the events.
You still have the jacket?
Pretty much. What's that?
You still have the jacket?
Oh, it's somewhere in a box. It's somewhere in a box. Won't fit me now, but it's somewhere in a box. Yeah, that's all my radio station T-shirts throughout the year. But I got out of it for a while and got back into radio. I turned 35, and I did stand-up comedy. I was DJing weddings, and I would always go to like radio stations and do interviews for the comedy part of it, and I just missed it. I loved the studio, and I always talked about someday getting back into radio. I turned 35 and said, boom, that's it. Let's get back into radio. So I did. I went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, pretty much just to get the internships and the connections, because I was already using audio software above theirs for bands that I was mixing and different things like that. But I got a job in Boston at WRKO Radio 680. It was actually back in the day when I was younger. It was on my transistor radio. It was AM station. It was the pop station for the most part. Top 40 was invented there. I got out of radio for a while. Well, this is me getting back into radio. I ended up getting a job in my hometown area, which was nice.
Yeah.
And eventually I worked for the rock station that I wanted to work for my whole life, Rock 101. Manchester. I had afternoon drive. I had my own team. It was the Fronk Nation with Fronk and Amber.
That's
we had
awesome.
a stunt boy. We had all kinds of funds. Ratings went through the roofs, and then Clear Channel sold to iHeart, and iHeart. It's just. I got the royal from Clear Channel and iHeart. So, but fortunately, people knew me, and I got a job with a company called Nassau Broadcasting. They were a 5 or 6 station cluster, and eventually, I was doing afternoons for a while on their classic rock station. Eventually, they brought me in to do mornings on their classic hit station.
Hmm.
Classic rock, classic hits. Well, hits would be AC/DC,
Right.
Highway to Hell.
Right.
Everybody knows that one. It would not be AC/DC Thunderstruck. That would be on the classic rock side. More
Okay.
Elton John, more Eagles, more Fleetwood Mac, that type of
Gotcha.
music, as
Okay.
opposed to, yeah. So I started doing mornings for Frank FM. It
Mhm.
was Frank's Place with Jim and Sarah. That took off. It was in my hometown, it was in my listening area,
Mhm.
and I loved being that personality. I would also announce some of the Pop Warner football games, and they would just know who I was. I just loved that. I did
Yeah.
stand up comedy for a while, as well. I gave up stand up comedy when I started doing the morning show because well, first of all, I can't be getting home at 2 o'clock at night
Late
and
nights,
getting up.
early mornings, right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I went from coming home at 2:30 to waking up at 3. So,
Ooh.
a drastic lifestyle change.
Yeah.
But I always told people it's because now I can't hear them not laughing at my jokes. You know,
Right.
I just put in a little laugh track. But radio is like a abusive relationship that you love to be in.
Mhm.
It really is. The money's not great unless you're in a major market, but the perks were awesome back then. Tickets to concerts and movies and
Mhm.
dinners and things like that. Fortunately, my wife progressed in her job in the pharmaceutical business
Mhm.
rapidly, which was nice because it allowed me to play, as she calls it, in radio and comedy and all that. I've always been a performer. So,
Yeah.
fast forward to 2018. I I was just voice tracking. I wasn't doing any morning show or any live talk show. I did talk radio for a bit.
As a
Um,
as a non-radio guy, what is voice tracking?
I'll get to that in one moment.
Okay.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
Okay.
You're tracking your voice, you're recording it. So basically, I'd be listening to the last 10 seconds of, Highway to Hell. Hey, that was Highway to Hell,
Okay, gotcha.
whatever, 1049 The Hawk, and here's the Eagles, Hotel Cal. And you just try to hit the mark, it's called. It's called
Mhm.
it's called hitting the post. There'd be like music posts and lyrical posts, but I'd be just talking over the last 15 seconds and ramping up the next 15, 20 seconds of the next song. You could hear me at any given weekend on 9 different stations in 6 different states at the same time. You could hear me during the week doing 2 different stations in the same market at the same time, which I never understood how they thought they could fool the listener.
Right.
Well, they're 2 different genres. Nobody crosses over from rock to adult contemporary. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they
Everybody's
do.
like, yeah. It's even funnier when, I'll be at like Chili's having a late liquid lunch because I'm out of work at the
Mhm.
time, and somebody walks in and says, "Hey, Fronk, I know you. Um, how did I just hear you on 2 different stations and yet you're still sitting here having a margarita?" It's voice tracking.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay.
recording. And it got so impersonal, so boring. I,
Mhm.
I I just hated it. It was I needed that interaction. I craved it. In times just before I decided to walk away from radio on my terms, which is something that is very rarely done for some reason.
Yeah.
Um, you usually get fired, but I ended up walking away on my terms. I got into flying drones, and I
Okay.
really loved flying drones. So
Cool.
I ended up doing real estate photography for a while. I ended up flying cell phone towers and doing inspections, which was very profitable.
That
It was
sounds cool.
awesome, but just like every other technology, everyone and their brother decided, hey, I can do this. I can buy myself a $2,000 drone. I can get my drone license. And all of a sudden, when I was getting paid $350 to do for 2 hours work of flying, I dropped down to 75 to 125 because
Market
of
saturation.
competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody would, people racing to the bottom just to get the work. So
Right.
I wasn't desperate. I don't have to hunt to eat. I referenced my wife she's she's very, very successful in the pharmacy. She's like some kind of data scientist. I don't even know what the hell she is, to be honest
One of
with
those
you.
big LinkedIn terms. Yeah.
Yeah, she sits in the back corner office in the house. She's there for 8 hours. She comes down and makes dinner. So life is good, you
Yeah.
know. So fast forward now to the pandemic, obviously,
Mhm.
2020. Granted, with the cell phone towers, I'm up on top of a mountain somewhere, so I'm by myself. No big deal as far as the pandemic goes, but work started to dwindle.
Mhm.
Work started because people weren't in the office. People weren't they were more concerned about the pandemic at the time.
Right.
So I thought to myself, what do I love to do? What makes me happy? Well, behind the microphone's always been my happy place, whether it's singing in bands, stand-up comedy, radio. I've done some, I was production director of a 6-station cluster for, 10 years, whatever it was. So I've
Right.
done thousands of commercials already, but I've done them in like radio voice guy,
Right.
hey, come on down to place, blah, 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 salesy, all that stuff that they beat the heck out of you now to get rid of.
Right.
Fortunately, my first coach, Tim Powers, he was an old radio guy too, and he was a stand-up comedian as well. So we kind of had the same path, and he beat that out of me pretty quickly, which was nice. So I decided, what do I want to do? I also love graphic arts.
Mhm.
For like all the websites, I was the web master or whatever they call them, web guru. And I would create logos and stuff for radio stations and ski for free weekend banners for like the website and
Right.
email blasts and all that stuff. I just love doing that. I know enough about Photoshop to get a lot of people in trouble, but not enough to like design a logo for like a Fortune 500 company that's going to be blowing up the size of a billboard.
Right.
Yeah. So my wife Melanie was like, why don't you go into graphic arts? There's a program at the college right here. It was like $36,000, 3 years. 3 years? I don't want to go to school for 3 years.
Right.
I'll be done. I'll be 58 years old. Do I really want to enter the job market at 58 with a bunch of technology that I have no idea about?
Right.
I knew enough, but when you learn it bit by bit, it's easier to retain it
Mhm.
as opposed to getting it all thrown at you,
Right.
And I did catch COVID, and I do have COVID fog, whatever they call it, long COVID. I do have some issues remembering things. I've since adjusted my lifestyle, and maybe it's old age. I'm just going to blame it on COVID, but it could be old age. Let's be truthful here, Jim. So maybe it's old age. But I've learned ways to get around doing things like that,
Mhm.
remembering things. I'm going to say, where was I? Oh yeah. So
You didn't want to
I
get a
decided,
graphics art degree.
yeah. So I decided, let's get into voiceover work. Buddy of mine, AJ Duquette, he was program director at one of the stations that I was program director in the cluster. We've been friends for 15, 20 years, whatever it was.
Mhm.
And he got out of radio a few years prior to me, and he's doing voiceover and doing very well. So I talked to him. I talked to Chad Erickson. I don't know if you ever heard of
Mhm.
needademo.com. Chad's a good friend of mine. So I reached out to people that were in the business, and as far as the equipment, I had most of it already
Yeah.
from radio and doing shows from my house sometimes because of storms and things. So I decided to just go that route, and I dove in 100%. I got coaching. I talked to everybody. Being the radio guy that I was, I've interviewed, I don't know, 1,000 celebrities. I don't know, but
Yeah.
they're all people.
Yeah.
Can we swear
Yeah.
on this?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So some are assholes, and those are the guys that I don't want to associate with. So I put
Yeah.
the same method in thought to voiceover.
Mhm.
I just got my demos back. It was March of 21, so about 2.5 years ago. It's 21 or 22. God, it was 22. It's only been since last. Wow, God, March of 22. I get
I
my
know,
demo.
man. Time flies, especially since the pandemic, and especially since
Flies.
starting in the voiceover industry, dude.
Right, but I was thinking it was a year back further. It's shorter than I thought it was, but it has flown by as well.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I got my demos back, and I was driving home from New York City. I live in New England. My wife and daughter and I went down some Tuesday night, Aladdin Broadway show, whatever.
Okay.
Driving home, they've got their headphones on. They're playing with their switches and dueling each other, doing something. So I've got Clubhouse going. It was a Clubhouse with Liz Atherton,
Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
Ann Ganguza was on it, and J. Michael Collins. Now, my buddy AJ Duquette, the VO guy, he's like,
hmm
I'm training with J. Michael Collins. You know who he is? I'm like, no. He's like, look him up. I said, I'll look him up when I get back from New Jersey,
hmm
from New York City. So I'm
Okay.
driving home. I hear his name. So I, raise my hand in Clubhouse to ask a question. They were talking about demos. I
Right.
said, I'm brand new. How do I know if my demo is any good? How do I know? I
Yeah.
got this demo. I mean, is it worth sending out? Did I waste, $5,000 on coaching and 2 demo? What's going on? J. Michael Collins, pretty much, we talked off air afterwards, and we exchanged emails 7, 8, 9 back and forth each,
hmm
talking about my demos. He gave me the good, the bad, and the ugly about it. There was a lot of good. There was some stuff, that he would change the order, get rid of this one, try see if he can remix this one, and we just became good friends afterwards.
Yeah.
And if you need somebody, and so that's opened the door to me asking other people. I've coached with Dave Fenoy for
hmm
video games, and you're like, well, how'd you coach with Dave Fenoy? Well, I found how to contact him on his website, and
Yeah.
I asked. I've coached with Kristen Piva from Disney. She's a casting director.
Yeah.
Yeah, how'd you coach with Kristen Piva? Well, I said, hey, I've got some money.
Yeah.
Coach. Ends up I was her first one-on-one student.
Okay.
But I tell
Cool.
everybody that. And the zoo that Atlanta was.
Yes. VO Atlanta. Yes.
That was my playground.
Yeah.
That was my playground. I went to my wife again. I'm going to go back to my wife. She came in once. I was talking with J. Michael Collins, and and a spot opened for Switzerland last year for one of his Euro retreats.
hmm
My wife happened to read behind my shoulder and says, "Oh, can we go to Switzerland for $8,500 in airfare? We can." And she said, "All right." So we went to Switzerland. And
Beautiful.
the people I met in Switzerland became lifelong friends.
Yeah.
And they were like, Scott Parkin, Trish Ryan from DPN,
hmm
Brad Hyland, Bridget Reale. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Bev Standing. These are all people that are now I can text and ask questions to. So
Right. Yeah.
I tell everybody, don't be afraid to speak to anybody.
Oh yeah.
We all know it's so cliche. We've all heard it. This is such a giving community. Everybody loves everybody, and they do. I'm not making
Dude,
fun.
conferences are like a family reunion. It's ridiculous. It's
And half the
awesome.
family you've never met.
Yeah, I know.
So I've got a buddy of mine, Terry. I'm sure he's going to listen. I don't want to.
Oh, actually, so Terry, I had messaged Terry because I found out we weren't connected on LinkedIn, so I connected with him this morning, and he was like, "Hey, bud, good to see you," because we're both in like this VO cooking thing where we like share what we cook during the day.
Oh
And,
yeah, Vocal Fry.
Yeah, Vocal Fry. We're both in
I'm in
Vocal
Fry.
Fry. Yeah.
I'm the guy that posts empty plates saying, "Shit, I forgot to take the picture."
But yeah, he was like, "Oh, I heard you're gonna have Jim Fronk on." Yeah, dude, just let him do his thing. Like, yeah, I love Terry.
Yeah, Terry's awesome. Terry has become my VO bro from another hoe, I guess
Mhm.
we'll call it. He's quickly become my best friend.
I've got a Luke
And
trusty. I understand.
there you go. We have I don't talk as much as I talk. I don't talk on the phone to people. I just
Yeah.
Me and Terry have video chats talking about nothing, drinking a few drinks, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But anyhow, Terry's not like me. Grace Newton, my other sweetheart, they're shy. I'm like, just follow me, man. I'll introduce you to everybody.
Right.
Dave Fenoy was there, and it was my first time meeting Dave Fenoy in person.
Mhm.
Dave and I have become lifelong friends. I mean, we sit and do what you and I are doing just for fun once or twice per week, just to catch up and see what's happening.
Yeah.
Um,
So how are you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing all right. Yourself?
I'm doing
Oh,
phenomenal.
doing the coffee thing, right? Here we go.
Yeah. How do you take your coffee in the morning?
I take it black with one Splenda.
One Splenda. Any
After
reason?
12, yeah, I just don't like the taste of sugar for some reason. I'm not sure why, but
Gotcha.
just like the Splenda. And
The-
that black is just too bitter.
Mhm.
And, So that's what I tell everybody: get out there and talk to people. Don't be afraid. There was only one person that I've ever talked to in the past year and a half, 2 years, that I will not associate with because they were a complete dick to me. I'm not going to call them out. I called them out on social media when it happened. This gentleman tried to apologize, or he did not apologize, tried to approach me at Atlanta. He too wears Hawaiian type shirts. And he thought that was a common bond for us to reconnect. And I was like, listen, I said, I asked you a question. You were a complete dick to me. You never answered the question. You don't know me from Boo.
Right.
I really don't care who you are, because he is, I guess, considered somebody on a certain level in a certain subgenre,
Right.
not really voice talking related, but part of the industry. I was like, you know what?
I don't care how prolific your career is, man. I might enjoy your content, but that doesn't mean I have to enjoy you as a person.
I never enjoyed his content, to be honest with you, because of the way that the online interviews and things were conducted, and the talking down to people. So I just said,
Right.
listen, if you ever have something like that, walk away. You don't want to deal with these people. Why would you? I mean, I'm at a point in my life. You're a young kid. Maybe you have the bandwidth to deal with dicks. I don't. I've only got so much time left. I've only got so much space left in my dumpster. I have to like empty the dumpster more and more to allow more space in, and more bandwidth. So yeah, people like that, I just can't be. I've not lost. I've disassociated from friends. I have a sibling I haven't talked to in probably 3 or 4 years, and just because, I don't deal with dicks anymore.
Right.
So that's my advice to you. Don't be a dick, and don't deal with dicks.
Well,
I think Jen Henry has those stickers that say "Don't be a dick." So
she
pick one
does.
up.
I have one somewhere over here. But speaking of disassociation, I'm curious because it seems like it's a trend that's really hard to break from. What were some of the things that stuck with you when your coaches were trying to help you get out of like that announcery read? Like, what were some of the things that like helped you transition a little better? Because everybody has different advice, but I'm curious what stuck with you.
The one thing that stuck with me, Tim Powers, great coach, my first coach, great friend of mine still. He was an old radio guy. And every time I used to slip back into that announcery voice, he would be like, "Oh, and up next is the Doobie Brothers." And I'm like, "You son of a..." I mean, he would just interrupt me mid-sentence, and "Oh, we got to take a caller right now. Hold on a second. Caller, are you there?" So and he can put on that.
So he annoyed it out of you.
He annoyed the hell, yeah. And every time I felt myself slipping back into it, or even now slipping back into it, I hear that thing going, "Hey, and now it's up to Doobie." So like, shut the hell up, Jim.
That's
But
awesome.
but now I'm working with Chris Zellman on Third Tier Automotive. And that Third Tier
Cliff.
Automotive, Cliff, should I say Chris? I'm sorry,
You
Cliff
said-
Zellman. That whole delivery of Third Tier is a radio broadcaster delivery.
Right.
With over $3,000
That's the exception.
off.
Tier 3
Yeah,
automotive is the exception.
Exactly. So now, here I am working on a genre that I've spent, I'm going to say $10,000 of coaching and training, because I continue to coach. And like I said, I don't have to hunt to eat. I will take a class with Tina Marasco if it's available, Terry Berland. I do a lot of stuff with the VO pros. I try to soak up for two reasons. The education part of it, I always take a nugget away from it, and also the connection.
Yeah.
I've been in a couple of things with Kim Herden. Kim knows me. People know me. They know the hat, and I'm kind of a, I don't want to say imposing figure, but I command a room when I walk into it. I'm a big gentleman. I mean, it's just my attitude. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's been a great ride. It really has. I've booked a few things, which is nice. I love animation. I love playing. I never thought I'd like the acting part of voice acting when I first started, because I was like, I'm an announcer. I'll be rich in 6 months. This is easy. I come from radio, but not so much. But I'm enjoying the ride so much. Enjoying the ride.
Awesome, man.
I want to show off something, if you don't mind. And this is
Do it up, man.
I am not getting an endorsement for this. You were at Dallas, did you see those guys with those little mic
Yes,
heroes?
I've
Did you
been
get one?
no, I didn't get one. I've been meaning to buy one,
Dude,
dude. Because my buddy Luke, he went and bought one, and he has just been talking about it nonstop. He's like, I will never travel with anything else.
this is my travel rig. My 416 goes right here.
Uh-huh.
My little windscreen fits right here. And then I have a microphone
That's
cable that
sexy,
I
dude.
put like this. There's enough foam to do it. And that's all I need, that and my laptop. And I did a recording. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
I did a recording, and so far nobody has been confident as to which one is Mic Hero with my 416
Mm-hmm.
or my 416 going into my Apollo Duo Twin X, my Apollo Twin Duo X that Jordan Reynolds put all kinds of preamps and all kinds of funkadelic stuff to make it
Yeah.
sound so natural. I can keep my back door here open to my bedroom. This is my old walk-in closet,
Mm-hmm.
with the AC going, and it doesn't pick up on the microphone because of the preamps that Jordan took care of.
Mm-hmm.
But I compare the two, and I'm like, why did I spend all this money?
Right.
Why did I spend all this money? But I highly recommend it if you're looking for something. It's $200.
Yep.
Audio Sigma. It's
Mhm.
called Mic Hero, and I'm not getting an endorsement, but I'm just, if I find something that I like and love, I like to share it with people.
Yeah.
So I'm going down to Uncle Roy's next week for the barbecue.
Beautiful.
Are you going to Uncle Roy's? Do you know Uncle Roy?
I love Uncle Roy. I promised him I would be there. I won't be able to make it.
Well,
I'd
I'm
love
going
to.
down a day early because my wife is coming down, and my 23-year-old daughter is going to go too, and they're going to go to a show Thursday night.
Mhm.
And she has some college friends that she just graduated with last year, down that area. So kid's going to go off and do her thing. But I'm going to record in my pillow fort
Mhm.
with this some raw audio for Uncle Roy to give his Uncle Roy assessment on, and
Yeah.
maybe do that 7 stack that he does. I used to have that for my audio, but when I went with the fixing my audio pre-production is easier, cleaner, and better than post-production. But something like this, if I could do some quick post-production like the Uncle Roy Magic Stack he
Yeah.
has, that'd be awesome.
Solid.
God, we've talked about a lot. Am I talking too much here?
No, you're good to go, man. So
All right, cool.
So you were telling me earlier that you do like SEO and stuff for like Dave Fenoy and for a couple of other artists. What are some
Oh.
SEO things that people need to pay attention to?
Not even SEO. So, and I do some SEO stuff, but more importantly, I do website design. Not so
Okay.
much website design because I don't want to be a website designer
Right.
or a web developer.
Not in the
But-
way, not in the developer way, but more in the graphic design sort of way, in the artistic and visual aspect, right?
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. I've been doing websites for radio friends of mine years ago.
Mhm.
They all had side gigs, side hustles, wedding DJs, things like that. We all had side hustles back in the day. So I had some skills, and I learned Wix very early.
Love Wix.
And I love Wix too. And I've become, I don't want to give myself the title of Wix Master.
Right.
I prefer Grand Exalted Wix Master.
Ah,
But
okay.
I've learned pretty much everything within Wix. And I started developing, actually, I got a Facebook memory from a year ago yesterday. Terry Briscoe, the Terry we were just talking about,
Mhm.
he said, thanks to Jim Fronk for taking my site and, really fixing it. And he was the first one,
Mhm.
and then I did another friend and another friend. And all of a sudden the line started backing up, and I'm doing more websites than auditions. And
Yeah.
it's like, I was like, okay, listen, I'm going to do this, but you're the last one. I'm going to start charging people.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to charge people to do it. I'm going to charge people to teach them.
Mm.
That whole,
Okay.
give a fish, teach them how to fish, whatever thing. I'll teach you how to build your website. Or if I give you a website and you come back to me, I'm going to charge you, $50 an hour, 2-hour minimum to upload your new demo. I'd rather teach you how to do it.
Right.
I'd rather teach you how to update your bio. I'd rather say, hey, listen, I'm expanding. I have to have a services page, or more. I teach you how to do that.
Right.
And it has been like gangbusters. I cannot tell you how many people don't know the must-haves for a voiceover specific website.
Right.
You know, you go to my website, there's probably 12, 15 pages. For, if there's 15 pages, 14 and a half of those pages are fluff,
Yeah.
are just me showing off and me saying, I talked with Gina Scarpa and her
Mhm.
sister Mia. They wrote a lot of SEO stuff that, keywords and,
Right.
every page is like, why hire Jim for video games, and why hire Jim for animation? Completely different things because
Right.
Google hates cut and paste.
Right.
Um, but it's all fluff. When you go to someone's website, boom, above the fold.
Yes.
The
Above
fold
the
is
fold
above the
always.
fold, always.
People don't want to
What?
scroll.
Nobody. If they like what they see and all the information is there, they may go surfing around your website
Yeah,
some,
but in
but
general, if somebody's just trying to pull a demo from your website or try to get your contact information on how to book you, they don't want to go
or
searching for it, nor
or
should they
even
have to.
someone new
Yeah.
that just that just found your website somehow, everything should be there.
Mhm.
Contact, demos, downloadable demos. Oh,
Yes.
so let's get on to Dave. In that class, Wix has a great, and I'm sure most website builders nowadays have a great SEO wizard or
Right.
SEO assistant. There are some tricks and things that I do teach people. Keywords.
Yeah.
Voiceover 3 different ways.
Mhm.
Even in the same paragraph, spell it. Voiceover 1 word, voiceover 2 words, voiceover hyphenated.
Mhm.
I mean, it sucks you have to do that with voiceover, but you do that,
That's part of
say your
running the
name.
business part. You know,
Yeah, and if
it's a
you
business.
talk about yourself in the third presence, then say Jim Fronk. Don't just say Jim. Use the full name because it's a
Right.
Google search. Make sure all your photos have the alternate text in them.
Mhm.
Like if I upload a photo, it's Jim Fronk headshot one dot JPEG.
Mhm.
Okay, that's fine, but the .jpeg just completely kills it
Yeah.
for Google. So you just take the .jpeg off. It can still say Jim Fronk headshot one, or if it's one of these, then maybe it's Jim Fronk headshot thinking, Jim Fronk headshot glasses. If I'm doing a little glass, whatever the case is.
Mm.
But always take care of that as well.
Mhm.
Um, H1, H2, H3, H4, H5 headlines. A lot of mumbo jumbo to a lot of people, but H1 is headline one.
Mhm.
You should only have one H1 on each page. You can solve that if you don't have a logo and you write your name out with a certain font.
Mhm.
Then you can make that an H1. And
Mhm.
then it's on every page because you keep your header for all pages.
Right.
There's just a lot of just little things that people don't understand. How to get found on Google. Do you have a Google business profile?
Right.
You should.
Mhm.
It's free.
Mhm.
When you say restaurants near me and a list of like 7 or 8 restaurants come up, and then there's like website and all this stuff, pictures and a whole little bio and stuff. Well, that's also could be you.
Yeah.
We
Beautiful.
talk about domain names. What's a good domain name? If you can get your name
Mhm.
solitary, I recommend getting it.
Dude, I tried. So I just had to put my middle initial. I tried to look up andrewmorrison.com and it was owned by like some real estate agent. So now everything's
Yeah.
Andrew D. Morrison.
Well, there you go. I mean, Andrew Morrison VO would be fine, but I have people that I've made sites with, and they've already bought their domains, and I said, listen, why don't you just throw that $30 away? Because AndrewMorrisonVoiceover.com, nobody wants to type.
Right.
And then nobody wants to type, and this is a true story too, because for their email, it would have been Andrew Morrison at AndrewMorrisonVoiceover.com. I don't want to talk to you. I'm
Right.
done typing.
Right.
Mine is Jim at JimFronk.com. Double
Mhm.
name, double branding. If Jim Fronk wasn't available, I would have got VO. Jim
Mhm.
Fronk VO. Jim Fronk wasn't available for many years. I couldn't get it doing stand-up comedy. I couldn't get it when I had my own DJ thing going on. Somebody in Germany or something had JimFronk.com and never did anything with it. Eventually it expired or they gave up or whatever. and it happened to become available as I was looking for a voiceover website domain. So I
Beautiful.
grabbed it.
So, what do you do outside of voiceover? What are other things that you enjoy other than being behind the microphone?
Wind therapy.
Wind therapy.
Wind therapy.
What is
I
what is
am an
wind
avid
therapy?
wind avid motorcyclist. I love the wind in
Oh,
my face.
oh, okay,
Yeah, love my
gotcha.
Harley Davidsons. I was very fortunate that with the classic rock station I spoke of, I had an endorsement deal for God 7 or 8 years with Heritage Harley Davidson, which was in the capital of New Hampshire,
Hmm.
where I'm from, and they have since closed. But the deals that I got with them and the endorsements, they would do about $6,000 or $7,000 worth of upgrades to my motorcycle to show off.
Cool.
Because there's Laconia Motorcycle Week, which has been they just had the 100th anniversary of it this past year. I have broadcast live from the Weirs Beach sign for 20 years now. Um, so yeah, I'm able to show it off. The years that they changed the bike styles, like in 2014, they came out with a whole new infotainment system and a whole new. The frame was different, and so instead of doing any kind of work, they're like, well, if you want, buy a motorcycle and we'll take 6 or 7 grand off it. And it happened to be that we were looking to buy this house. I sold my motorcycle for the down payment, knowing that in February I'll be probably buying something again, and I did. But all those bikes, the bike that I just got a brand new bike, a trike actually. I'm having some issues with my knees and with my ankles, and I didn't feel safe stopping,
Mhm.
putting my feet down and holding up 900 pounds.
Yeah.
Forget about putting my wife in the back. I wouldn't put anybody on the back of my motorcycle. So I bought a trike.
Okay.
They came out with a new trike called the RG3. It's a Road Glide three wheels. My bike was a Road Glide, so it was pretty much from just behind my back forward, the exact same motorcycle. Same frame,
Cool.
same forks, same rake, same angles, different entertainment system, but still similar.
Yeah.
So it just came out this year. I'm like, well, there you go. This is the universe telling me it's time to get a trike, because I hate the old looking trikes. So the bike I traded in, they gave me $200 more than I paid for it back in 2017 or 2018,
Hmm.
because of the kept flipping motorcycles every 3 or 4 years, and the equity I built up in them from the endorsement deals
Hmm.
ends up, when I traded in, they gave me a couple $100 more than I paid for it out of my pocket. So
Yeah.
it's been a great relationship. That's obviously, now if I were to trade in the trike, I would lose everything I had put into it. But up until then, but yeah, wind therapy. I love wind therapy. I love hanging out with. My daughter bought a bearded dragon, and I've never been a
That's
pet guy.
cool.
I mean, I'm allergic to like anything with dander, so I've never had dogs. Or it's not that I don't like dogs
Mhm.
and cats. I just can't be around them, so I just never had that relationship that people have with their animals.
Yeah.
She got this bearded dragon, and then all of a sudden she got a boyfriend, and all of a sudden she's like, she's gone, and so it's become our bearded dragon. And man, I love Cricket. He sits on my
Cool.
shoulder. They say, who are you talking to? 9 times out of 10, I'm talking to a bearded dragon. Hey, Cricket, check this out. Blue Cross Blue Shield wants to give you health care.
Yeah.
But so yeah. Other than that, I'm really connecting more with my wife lately.
Mhm.
Like in the past couple of years, I don't want to say because of COVID, but because of COVID, we kind of stopped going out like we used to,
Mhm.
and we still go out now, but it's not like it was. I mean,
Right.
but nothing's like it was. But yeah, and I love doing. And this is gonna sound corny. I really enjoy doing websites.
Yeah.
I'll sit there and I'll get lost building. I'm building one for. Well, I built Dave for Noise.
Mhm.
We were talking about that, and I did a complete rebuild on his. His was just, it broke almost every rule of anything. No, I mean, no downloadable demos.
Mhm.
I mean, I understand the techie stuff, and when I went to like book my sessions with him, he uses Bookio. Then he had to jump over and give a code. Then you had to sign. I was like, dude. So now it's like click, enter my information, pick my dates. It's all within his website. It's all self-contained. So
Awesome
I love
sauce.
doing that. And I'm doing one for Jason Leadingham right now. Great voice actor, casting director too. And I'll sit there and, these 3-hour workshops that we're in sometimes, read for an agent
Yeah.
or, but you only work for like 10, 15 minutes. Then you sit there and listen to everybody else. Well, during that time, I turn off my camera and I go to work. I'll be listening, absorbing, but I'll be creating websites and just building all that. So that's kind of, I can sit down to build a website and look up 5 hours later and say, really, it's been 5 hours.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, it's weird to explain, but I get lost in doing that.
No, that
But
makes
I don't
perfect
want to do
sense.
that for a business because I get too lost in it.
Right.
I'm too critical. I'm too much of a perfectionist when it comes to that, which is good for my friends and people I work with, bad for my insanity and for
Right.
dinner time coordination with my wife. But if anybody's interested, I got to throw a free plug out there, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
And any links you have, they will be in the show notes.
Oh, cool. Jim at jimfronk.com. You can reach me. Jimfronk.com is the VO. And for websites, you can get there. There's buttons and stuff for my website, but it's websitesforvo.com.
Okay.
So if someone says, what do you do? I make websites for VO. So it's websitesforvo.com. You can listen to a great testimonial from Dave Fenoy, which was totally unsolicited. It blew my mind when it showed up. You can see, I don't know, it's probably about a dozen or so. Scrolling that you click on will take you to their websites that were actually created by students. No cookie cutter. I know that there's services out there for $20 per month. They'll host it, give you a domain name, and you can plug in your information. You can change the color, change the font, but that's about it. You can't really
Right.
and if you do the math, it's if over the course of 3 years, it's actually more expensive to do $20 per month than it would be to take my class and buy a domain and host it through Wix. Once again, I'm not endorsing Wix. It's just what I know. They have a half off. Actually, it's probably going on right now. They have a half off sale every 7 to 10 days for 2 days. So you get a website hosted that does all the bells and whistles, all the booking, all that stuff that not most voice actors need. You can get a website like Dave Fenoy, who has his own events, appearances, does the booking, scheduling, and payment all within the website for $9.50 a month for 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So
Yeah.
you've caught up to that $20 per month after about. It sounds great, $20 a month, but
Right.
12 times 20 is $240. I mean, that added up quick, didn't it?
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're at what, 480, and you only had to pay $340 for 3 years on Wix. So now you're at 480. I can't even do that math, but $140. You still have another $240 to add on to that, which is a lot less than what I charge people. I mean, I'm not looking to make money. I would rather spend 3 hours teaching you how to build, and that's all it takes, teaching you how to build your own website and charging. I'd rather do that than charge you twice as much for me to build your website in half the time.
Right.
Because if it's taking us 3 hours to teach you, I'm building it in an hour and a half.
Right.
Granted, you're a little more pickier. We do a couple things here and there. I don't have you're not answering questions right away. But over the course of time, I'm probably only investing about an hour and a half to 2 hours into your website for a basic 1-page voiceover website. Something like Dave Fenoy's multiple pages, that's a little different situation. But I'm not going to be there. I'm going to turn it over to you and say, here you go. It's all yours. I'd rather force you into learning how to do it than make more money and half the time off you. Because I don't want to be a web guy. I want to be a voice actor.
Speaking of money, imagine money doesn't exist. What is your dream bike? I'm really curious. What's your dream bike?
My dream bike?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. Man.
Forget cost. Just your dream bike.
It wouldn't be anything different than I have or had. I mean, if I have to go three wheels, then what I have, but just souped up. I mean, there's all kinds of upgrades. Obviously,
Yeah.
they come with a 114 engine already. You can boost that up to 130 something now, and I mean, I could put wheelie bars on it and do wheelies down the street. But yeah, it's not like cars.
Yeah.
It's not like what's your dream car? I'd say, well, Lamborghini or Jaguar.
Yeah. Hmm.
I already have a Harley. I already have a I've always had a touring Harley bike. Um, yeah, I guess what I have now, just with more bells and whistles,
Cool, cool, cool.
but understated.
Yeah.
I want hidden bells and whistles. I want the
Yeah.
upgraded seat. I want the heated hand grips, the extended brake pedal, the
Right.
extended shifter, I'm a tall guy. So just all these extra parts and stuff, my old bike I had a kick-ass sound system. I mean, I could set off alarms with my sound system. We'd go to a party, outdoor party, and I'd put mine in auxiliary mode, and I'd be the entertainment.
Mhm.
I host Chandler's Ride. It's a yearly event we do. A real good friend of mine, her son was a victim of needless gunshot. They still don't know who, why. He had just turned his life around. He had just had a baby 3 months earlier. It just got anyhow. We do a yearly ride, in September. We're on year 5. We just had year 5, but I lead the ride, and it's grown to a couple hundred bikes, and you have to give those announcements and all that. Last year, I just recorded one, put it on a little drive, put it in my bike, and hit play and turn the speakers up. I mean, and people across the parking lot could hear it very easily. So
Cool.
yeah.
So,
So yes, a Harley Davidson with all the bells and whistles. Probably a
awesome sauce.
Road Glide or Street Glide.
Cool, cool, cool. So if
What
you
about
could,
you?
I'm not a bike person. You would just
Well,
really
car.
passionate. Oh, a car?
Yeah, I'm in a car. Everyone's a car
Um,
person. No?
yeah, but like luxury economic or American muscle?
I'll tell you what. I'm going to make this a lot easier.
Uh,
Money is no option. What's the first thing you're going to buy or do? Besides family, pay off bills, yada,
right.
yada, yada. What's the first thing you're going to do for yourself?
Probably
Buy
upgrade.
or do?
Probably upgrade my studio. Go get all of the coaching and all of the bells and whistles for my studio that I can never afford.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, aside from the Harley, because I already have pretty much the bike I want,
Yeah.
I dump money into my studio. I'd
Yeah.
rip down these things here. I'd put in the rock wool and have somebody do it right and hang
Right.
up the nice looking upholstered sound panels and not feel like I'm in the back of a moving truck
Right.
again. Just kidding.
So if you could write yourself a letter and send it back in time to before you started doing voiceover, what would you tell your past self?
Wow. God, that's funny because we actually wrote letters in 2005 as a radio program director thing, and
That's cool.
she gave them back to us 10 years later.
That's cool.
It really was cool. I would tell myself, why did you wait so long?
Right.
I mean, granted, if I had done this back when I probably should have, it would have cost a hell of a lot more. And I would not be able to put everything for a road gig in here.
Yeah.
It would be thousands of dollars
Hmm.
in order to do if I were to do this back in like the early 90s. But if I were to write back to myself 15, 20 years ago, I would have said that V123 account that I opened up back in 2007 and did nothing with. I would have done something with to start.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for coming on, man. This has been a blast.
I feel like we haven't drank hardly any coffee.
Oh, I've had
you
plenty.
I have. Like I need it. I'm like zinging off the walls here anyhow. So, but yeah, this has been great, man. This has been a lot of fun.
I really hope you enjoyed hearing Jim talk about his radio to VO transition, the relationships he's built along the way, and some really good advice on optimizing your website for VO success. If you'd like to connect with him so he can teach you how to make your website shine, you can book him at websitesforvo.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the VoiceOver Coffee Shop. For more information on guests, new episodes, and more, be sure to visit www.vocoffeeshop.com.